So we are going to study this 12 links of interdependent origination. So this painting first come from India. So maybe more than 2,500 years. So the history of this painting is maybe there's in North India, Rajkir. There's a famous king called Bimbasara, living very close to Bihar area. So very famous, very wealthy king, and have king, queen, and a minister. And also another side of that country, there's another king, it's Uttayana, two kings. So it is said that when one kingdom experience prosperity, other will experience poverty, like that. So anyway, this king Bimbasara and the king Uttayana, they are very famous king in India, but very wealthy. And so one day from Uttayana kingdom, some minister, some business people come to see the king Bimbasara, and then king asked, "Where are you from?" I'm from the kingdom of the Uttayana, and then later, and these two kings became very close friend. Bimbasara and Uttayana become very close friends. And so Uttayana would like to send gift to the Bimbasara. So he sent very, very expensive jewelry, just it's most expensive jewelry in the world, something very, very sent to the Bimbasara and offered to the Bimbasara. He was very impressed, and then he was thinking, what should I return back to him? Something, can't, because it's very valuable, expensive, something jewelry. You can wear this, and something very expensive. So then he was thinking, what should I offer back something gift to him? So discussion with minister and nobody, all are very silent. Among this one minister stand up and said, "Oh, maybe Buddhas live in that area. You should go and see the Buddha, and he will give you some advice." So they all went to see the Buddha, and Buddha said, maybe draw this painting, draw this two links of interdependent origination painting, and write some letters and send back to the Uttayana kingdom, and so when he opened this, and he was very impressed with all the paintings and details, and he was able to understand dependent arising. That's how the history of the painting coming from between these two kings, Bimbasara and Uddayana. Okay, so this is a brief history of how this Wheel of Life painting come from India. This is more than 2,500 years, so it's a very old painting. Now this painting, and now so when he read this painting, right? So Buddha gave all the details of the samsara, He gave all the 12 links of interdependent origination, and he also gave how samsara, if you are inside the wheel, then no matter you are still in samsara, So therefore, to liberate from samsara, then you have to understand dependent arising. So that's how dependent arising. Okay. So Sanskrit, it's called Patiya Samunda Pati. Dependent. Name of that dependent arising. Patiya means dependent. Samudapati means arising, dependent arising. So this is Sanskrit word, right? Dependent arising means patiya means dependent. Samudapati means arising. So it means arising to meeting with the relationship, something which comes from something which is existence, right? Then arising, arising and contact and have a relationship, dependent arising. So when he first taught about this dependent arising, so Buddha first thought maybe it is very difficult to understand the dependent arising. So first I should give the analogy or the example of the external products. Once you understand the external products are the dependent arising, then you will be able to understand internal mind, emotions are also dependent arising. So therefore, first Buddha taught Rice Settling Sutra, the name of the sutra, Rice Settling Sutra. So Rice Settling Sutra. So title of this sutra is Rice Settling Sutra. So now in this sutra, first because we are talking about the dependent arising, right? So seed. So he taught dependent arisings. First, we should understand the dependent arising of the product. Then we will understand the dependent arising of the whole and parts. Then very subtle dependent arising, it means all the phenomena are designated by the name. So that is the most subtle dependent arising. So Buddha taught three different categories of the dependent arising. Dependent arising of cause, dependent arising of part and whole, and dependent arising of the designated by the mind. So first, we must understand the dependent arising of cause. So cause means product, right? So product means it is something depend on the causes and conditions. So it is like changing phenomena. So it products, right? It is something exists, should be momentarily changing, product, right? So when Buddha taught product, so he taught two types of product: external product and internal product. External product, seed, rice seedling seed, and seed is the main cause, right? Main cause and result of the seed. So cause and effect, right? So if this related to our body and mind, right? So we are human beings, and we are designated by body and mind, right? We have 5 aggregates. We are the combination of aggregates, right? Aggregates of form. We have aggregates of feeling, aggregates of karmic formation, recognition, and what 5 aggregates, right? Form, aggregates of consciousness. So we are the collection of the 5 aggregates, right? He or she is the collection of the body and mind, and then somebody will designate it to you, he or she, somebody will give you name, right? But in order to give the name, we need base of designation. Base of designation is our body and mind. The collection of our body and mind make us he or she, I. And then, so when we talk about product and non-product, right? Product. So product, external product is not related to the consciousness. Internal product is related to the mind. So we're talking about our daily emotions, affective thoughts, emotions. These are internal product. So related to the consciousness and mind. So therefore, so when we understand that, first I want to read this one. So sutra, right? Sutra. So this sutra is very popular sutra. So Buddha said, whatever arises from causes does not arise inherently. Okay? That which relies on the cause is said to be empty. Whoever understands emptiness is cautious. Okay, this is what we are talking about. So we are talking about dependent arising of cause and effect. So let me give example of this book. We need three things to prove this book, and to prove this book we need to dispel the mistaken understanding of the book, right? So whatever book, table, mind, whatever, there are two things always coming together, Mistaken mind and correct mind cannot go together, right? So mistaken mind will dispel the correct mind will dispel the mistaken mind. These two are contradiction. So therefore, if you take the example of this book, according to the dependent arising of the product, which is external product, right? External product. So we need three things. First one is to consider the subject is a book. This is the book, cup, book, subject we talk about, right? We talk about the book, shape, color, paper, quality, all kinds of things. But book is general, and if we talk about many things, characteristic, so many things we can talk about the books, right? Who print this book, paper, factory, and all this come together. Then book exists. So the book is the subject, right? So and then we have to prove that book it to dispel the understanding of the mistaken of this book, right? So we have to prove. Second is it is not established by way of its own nature. It does not exist by independently. It is right, because then we have to use the logic, because it has arisen from causes. Makes sense, right? Subject book, it is not established independently because it arises from causes. When something arises from causes, it means it's not the independent existence, right? So we can understand the subject book, it is not established by its own nature only, independently. If book exists its own nature, we don't need factory, we don't need paper, just book. But impossible, right? Because it has arising from the causes and condition. Something arising from the causes and condition is not inherent cause and not inherently existence. So when you use that logic, you will definitely dispel the book is not independent existence, right? Book is not independent existence because it produced from causes and condition. It is dependent arising. So you see, when you understand the dependent arising of book, you will dispel the mistaken understanding of inherent existence book. So that is the external, product. We prove this is dependent arising. Now take this to ourselves, right? Remember internal, which is now is the combination of the body and mind, right? So you can say this I, me, or whatever, I, the subject, right? And then not self-existence. I'm not self-existence because I was produced by causes. So you have subject to prove, and you have reason or sign. Three things. It's very important to understand, When every phenomena we can use these three things: subject to prove, and reason. So when you use the reason, right, then if you use the correct reason, you will dispel the misunderstanding or the wrong view. If you use the mistaken reason, right? So this is why the understanding dependent arising will dispel the ignorance. Ignorance, right? Ignorance is mistaken, right? Mistaken. Ignorance is in the 12 links of interdependent origination. Ignorance is like blind person, blind person. So if you are ignorance, you are blind. Like blind person can go everywhere, can go to very dangerous place. Right? Similarly, if we are controlled by ignorance, we are like blind person. Because of ignorance, cause us to live in this wheel of life. Wheel of life. So, so then when you say I, subject, right? I'm not self-existence because I was produced by causes and condition. So then you understand I am dependent arising, right? But problem is every time I see you from my eyes, you see me from your eyes, it appears to our eyes or our mind is something existing, something inherently existence. So that is mistaken, right? So that is what we call the Rice Seedling Sutra. So speak about dependent arising of the products. So product divided into two, right? External product and internal product. Now in this one, Indian master, Asanga, point out when he proved dependent arising of the product in his text called the Compendium of the Knowledge. So very big text composed by Asanga, Indian master, right? So he point out, prove the product 11 points to understand the dependent origination of the products. But it's like this. When I say to you, book is book, right? Everything exists is dependent arising. But anything exists is dependent arising, right? Right. There's nothing independent existence. Anything exists is dependent arising, right? So when you look the cup is dependent arising, but cup is not that holy, right? But when we talk about the emptiness of cup, then it becomes holy, right? You know what I mean? Cup is not that holy, cup is cup to drink tea or coffee. But when we talk about cup is dependent arising, but if we talk about the emptiness of cup, then it becomes more holy. You know what I mean? Emptiness of cup means then we have to talk about the dependent origination of causes of cup, whole parts, designated by the, you know what I mean? So it became more and more holier, right? Understanding emptiness of the cup. So here this product, this Indian master Asanka pointed 11 points to prove dependent origination of the products, not whole and part, just for products. Right. So number one, he said that they do not have creator, right? Who have not creator, whose any external, whose self is separate entity from the aggregates. So we're talking about, remember, I subject, not independent existence, because produced by causes and conditions. So I'm not self-existence. I'm not inherent existence. Right? I, me, right? Me and you. We have base of designation, designated object. Base of designation is combination of our body and mind. Right? And then, right, base of designation, right? Base of designation is body aggregates, right? Aggregates are base. Designated object, right? You and somebody designated, right? So therefore, his number one, no creator, right? Because they are produced by something else, right? So seed produced by something else. They have cause, right? Each external, internal product have their own cause. Cause. When we talk about cause, not one cause. Primary cause and cooperative causes, right? So remember, when we talk about the dependent arising means arising to meet or to relate it. Seed exists because to meet fertilizing, sunshine, relationship with this, right, then produce the result. So they have causes, right? Causes, not one cause, but primary cause and cooperative causes. Seed is primary cause. Similarly, what is the primary cause of samsara is ignorance, right? And then all other afflictive emotions arises. They are not object used by self-sufficient, substantially existent living beings, right? Person, right? So you're not existing from self-sufficient, right? Right? Because you are what? No independent self, right? You are depend on other factors. You are depend on body and mind, right? You are depend on parent. You are depend on food. Many things, right? There's no. They are under the influence of other factors, right? So other factors. So if you take the example of some samsara living beings, right? So samsara is created by fundamental ignorance. Then ignorance create other, anger and desire. Then all these six root delusion arises. Six root delusions created 20 secondary affective emotions, right? And then we go further and further. He's talking about 84,000 afflictive emotions. We have 84,000 teachings the Buddha taught, right? So it depends on other factors. And number five is they come into existence with no movement of intention, right? Right. You understand what I'm saying? they come into beings. You understand what I'm saying? That's the one. They are impermanent. Products are impermanent, right? So product impermanent because they depend on causes and condition. So something depends on causes and condition is temporary phenomena. Means not always there. Sometimes there, sometimes absent. You know what I mean? Like mind, consciousness, form, smell, taste, tangible, all these objects, and all, all temporary. Sometimes uh, remain, sometimes absent. So product means temporary phenomena, right? Impermanence. They are number 7. They are momentarily because they come in the continuum of the movement of similar type, similar type of cause. So that means if seed is barley, will produce barley, not produce mango or the rice. If the seed is positive, will produce good actions. If the seed is negative, produce negative actions. So similar type of, you know what I mean? Similar type. Negative seed will never produce positive. Positive seed will never produce negative, So similar type of causes. They are part of the unbroken continuum of causes and effect. So that is, we believe that even external seed is continuation. You know what I mean. Today you may have seed, you may have barley seed. So that seed is coming from yesterday barley seed. So that seed coming from another barley seed. It's continuation, right? Continuation. Seed is continue, right? If I ask you, where does this barley seed come from? You may say it comes from another barley seed. Where does that come from? Another. How far we go, It's just continuation like that. Seed. And there is concordance between cause and effect, right? Concordance between cause and effect. There is diversity of cause and effect. So there are variety causes and effect, right, to produce the result. Not 1, 2, 3, but so many variety of cause and condition happen will produce the result. So this is similar to the 12 links of interdependent origination, So ignorance, craving, grasping, then produce all this kind of samsara, like that. There are specific, definite causes and effect. So if you do something good, we talk about karma, right? Karma. Something good will bring you good result. Definitely it will bring you good result, right? But when will you experience this result? We don't know. It depends on how strong karma. Very strong karma will happen very fast. Will bring you this lifetime the result, whatever you do. Medium will maybe bring another couple of years, or maybe and the small will bring you another next lifetime, something like that. So, but karma will happen unless we purify it, right? With negative karma will happen unless we purify it. If we purify it, right, then we will not experience the consequences of these negative emotions because it is already purified, right? So specific. So these are the 11 points prove the dependent arising of product Okay, product, right? Product. So when you understand dependent arising, right, and then it will open your mind, right? The dependent everything is dependent arising. Whatever appears to our mind is dependent arising. But every time it appears to our mind, not dependent arising. You know what I mean? Everything is appear to our mind, independent arising. Independent arising means it appears to our mind objectively. It just whatever appears is objectively or existing objectively on the side of the object. Let me give the example of when you get angry, right? Somebody, and because of mistaken independent mind will believe all this problem is coming from objectively. Objectively means it's created by external enemy. So when you think like this, then you have no understanding of dependent arising of cause and condition. So when you believe, oh, it opened your mind, something happened to you, oh, I can't blame everything to this external. I may have something because I have seed. I plant the seed. Now to ripen this seed, you need cooperative cause and condition. So that external enemy is cause, cooperative cause and condition. So if you believe all problem is not created by external, it's something I have responsibility for my karmic seed or my, then all things change, right? You will not blame everything to this object, and you have less emotion problem, less anger, right? So therefore, this when we want to understand dependent arising of the product, we must use this subject to prove, and reason. First, we prove external subject, and then we prove internal subject, yourself. So when you are meditating, right, on the dependent arising, so I am not independent existence because I'm meditating. So I'm not independent existence because I depend on many factors. And you have intellectual understanding of the dependent arising. So this intellectual understanding of dependent arising have to go deeper and deeper, analyze, think. When we analyze more, think more, then you experience the dependent arising of yourself. First, we prove dependent origination of the external things, right? External things easy, right? See it. So, and then prove internal, yourself. So I'm not independent existence because I am meditating on the question, or I depend on many factors. I'm not independent existence, but everything I appear independent existence, right? So when this appears to your mind, so the independent existence deceiving our mind. So independent existence deceiving our mind, right? So we have to be very clever, cunning. We have to deceive the independent existent mind. Means you give, for example, like I will give you one analogy of the if there is one meditation room, if there's only one cushion and somebody is sitting on the cushion, right? So you want to meditate and sit on the cushion, can't, because others sitting on the cushion. So you have to tell something, oh, there's music going on, something like this. When he jump up, you sit there, right? Then you deceive that person, right? Similarly, when we are meditating, independent existence always deceiving our mind, What should we do? We just have to be very clever and focus on the breathing exercise. Breathing in and out, just discounting from your mind. So when this happens, it will settle down in your mind. Settle down in your mind. Just like I gave you analogy, right? Somebody sitting on the cushion there, and you tell, oh, there's something going on. He will jump up. You sit there. Now you can sit there and meditate on independent existence. I'm joking. Anyway, what do you think? I don't know, maybe just have some questions. This is my topic tonight. So we will, I think, I don't know how we'll, maybe take 2 months or 3 months finish this. I don't know. Maybe 2 months, 3 months. If I speak more about karma, it will take longer. Karma is very deep subject. So maybe 2 months or 3 months, then we will go to another topic or something like that. Okay, thank you very much. Koro.